Hello and thanks for watching my video. This is a video looking at the dungeon run in 2015 for Guild Wars 2 of Sorrow's Embrace Path 2. Now, you may notice already from the length of this video, this is a long run, and it's not the fact that this dungeon is that long, it's the fact that, one, I'm on my Necromancer Minion Master sort of build, two, we had two Rangers, a Mesmer and a Guardian, and it's not the OP party, so no Warriors, no Elementalists, and not only that, none of us knew what we were doing in this dungeon. Also, I'd only ever done this dungeon twice. I haven't done this dungeon in about 2 years, and I was, when I was going back through, I thought I could go through and research how to do this by watching videos online and give you guys an OP guide. I wanted to do something different for this video. I wanted to show you guys what it's like for someone who has no idea what exactly this dungeon's going to be, because there are a couple of times when our party wipes because we had no idea what was coming. It starts off, we have no idea which way we were supposed to be going. I got very confused and thinking this was P1 again, and I was like, no, hang on, wait, which way, no, what? So this run, as you can see, I've never run this dungeon on my Necromancer before. I wanted to try and do something a little bit different, give you guys a different idea of some of the different professions to run. Again, I've run the Necromancer. I wanted to give us a bit of tankiness, so I went with the Minion Master build. Pretty sort of standard PvE, dungeon type thing. I am especially damaging in conditions as well. So you'll notice that I do go into Death Shroud quite a lot, and my minions do quite a substantial amount of damage. So let's talk about why people don't do SCP-2. I think without the video, without my failing, and without us being a new party, it would still take at least a minimum of 15 minutes, probably around 20 minutes or so. And if you compare obviously Sorrow's Embrace Path 1, Path 3, you could probably do P1 and P3 in the time it takes you to do P2. And it's that sort of thing that means that this path is very, very rarely ever seen actually advertised in the looking for group tool. So you can see us, we're actually waiting. We didn't realise that there actually is a chain to the left hand side that we actually have to pull. Until I go there, that's how much of a new party we are. So you're going to see our party not have a clue. We don't have a clue what we're supposed to be doing here. We try and stack up as much as we can, and you're going to hear me trying to explain a little bit about why we're failing and sort of the positions. But I'm hoping that for those of you who have never run P2, watch me do this. I want to challenge you guys. You can see it's taken me 39 minutes on the video length. Let's see if anybody can do under 20 minutes. That'll be a good run. If you can do that, then hey, I'll party up with you, and we'll try and do that. I'll get on my Zerker LE. You can see we're stacked up. That does tend to be the sort of main idea for dungeons. Stack up in a particular position. Get all these might boons and sort of defensive skills blasted. You can see I'm getting retaliation from an Aegis given to me by the Guardian. So I'm getting boons all from the Guardian, a couple from the Mesmer as well. But this boss isn't too difficult, I have to say that the bosses that we fight in this dungeon are not difficult to fight. I felt that it's more the ads and the mobs that really are a lot more dangerous in this dungeon than anything else. However, I think if I was prepared, I don't think I would have been, if I ran this again tomorrow, I would probably do it in under 30 minutes. But firstly, I've run my Elementalist with Ice Bow, being able to bleed and cleave these guys down. Rangers are not the strongest to run in dungeons. They just don't have the sort of DPS that you get with the other classes, or the condition damage. The Guardian that we've got isn't really a DPS Guardian either. It's a sort of bunker healer Guardian. And our Mesmer, I was a little bit confused about what they were running. A little bit of a shatter build that they were running, but not too much extreme damage. We do get a lot of conditions. that's as much as we, you know, you're seeing here. This is the first boss, and how long it's taking us. So again, this is this video is not going to be a pro video. This is me not having a clue. You know, it reminds me of when I was first doing the dungeons, me being sort of a noob. You know, I have not a clue what to do here. I had some vague recollection of how the dungeon worked towards the end, but even then, it's changed since the last time I've done this. So we turn up here, and this is the bit that I'm like, okay, what do we do now? So I've ambled forward. If you want to keep an eye on our mini-map, because you'll notice what happens to our party. We all get split up. We all get divided, and we do end up dying because of the amount of ads. So here we go. Sorry, that actually happens later. This is a pretty straightforward bit. What I'm going to do, as you can see, I'm skipping forward on the video, just because there's 4 bosses and a few little ads, and they're really not too hard. As long as you take them out one by one, they're really simple to defeat. So after the fast forward, we'll catch up then. Okay, so we've taken out those bosses, and sorry, this is the bit, you know, we can see the NPC that we're supposed to be following. A lot of us get blindsided. We see the chest, so we go and pick up our, you know, chest. I'm just amble forward to the point, and then, we've got some ads spawn, and they are all elites. And not only that, I'm like, whoa, guys, come on, let's get here straight in. I turn around, and what do I see? I see a hell of a load of more ads behind us as well. We're in trouble here because we're going to get split up. You can see that they're all fighting the NPC. I forgot that you had to protect the NPC. The Guardian's staying at the back. The rest of us are going in the front line. We're getting, you know, I'm getting a lot of conditions off. We're all a bit separated. I'm just ambling between the front and the back, trying to help out both, trying to kill as much and tag as much as possible, and it's not really working. So we are really struggling here. Got a guy that's down. I'm trying to heal, but then you get the bomber with his AoE attack, really devastating. You know, we're getting players down, going all over the place. I'm trying to kill, and the idea would be to tag as much as possible. But you know, even though I'm using my sort of minions to try and heal up, again, and that's me down. It was a bit of a, you know, blindly wandering in. I had no idea that was going to happen. A little point for you: when you come up to this point, be aware you'll get 2 mobs of elites that will spawn, and you've got to be careful. And I'd recommend stacking up. We were totally caught off guard here. You know, I'll hold my hands up. No idea that these ads were going to spawn. And they just caught us completely unaware. and bam, we get wiped because we got separated, we got divided, and you know, our Guardian survives a little bit longer. But it's interesting, you know, this sort of thing. I mean, it happened a fair frequently amount in Guild Wars 1, whereby your party didn't have to stack up as much, and so you would get strung out a little bit and you would get split up. In Guild Wars 2, it doesn't tend to happen that much, because more often than not, you do stay in the same area, pretty close to each other, and this is the reason why. If you don't stack, you die. And on one hand, I do like the fact that, you know, obviously I was a bit surprised about this. I would like to point out later on as well, you do see a lot of heavy mobs. And I do think they need to be more prevalent in the dungeons, because they're not. If you look at P1 and P3 of Sorrow's Embrace, there's a couple of mobs that are a little bit tricky, as you probably see in some of the dungeon videos I've done. I do die on a couple of occasions. This run, I've just cut it back in. You know, we pull the mobs a little bit easier, and it's a lot easier to do. So. Yeah, it reminded me of the enjoyment and the uncertainty that I had when I first did Guild Wars 2. When you were going through an area for the first time, you were like, wow, this is the first time you're going through this area. It's all an unknown to you, and this path was a relatively unknown thing to me. It's the same with story mode. I've not done story mode dungeons for a long time, apart from Hurrah, and I'm sure if I went back and did the story mode for this, I would really struggle. I would not have a clue how the whole dungeon mechanic works. My memory would be confused, because obviously I do the dungeon pass multiple times, you know, a sort of a fairly substantial amount each week, and I would struggle to realise or to remember how the story mode went for this. It'll be interesting to do it again. I do think that they could bump up the rewards for story mode, apart from getting a rare, but hey. Anyway, so we're getting back to the dungeon. We're taking out the mobs bit by bit. Then you'll get this NPC that's dead. He takes a long time. He's very, very slow. So what I do, I'll cut it so that you can see. You don't have to watch him meander along. We've got one final little bit of mob to go. This time we do it properly. We stack up and we handle them a lot easier. Be it me with my Necro, with my minions, all the minions are pretty strong. They do a good amount of damage, and I quite like this build actually for myself. I don't know how much DPS compared to say a warrior or a elementalist, but generally for safety, because your minions are taking. If you've got a lot of mobs here, the minions do tend to absorb a lot of the damage. The only downside, as we'll find out later, is against AoE damage, minions are extremely poor. They don't move out of the way of the AoE. Particularly later, you get these mortars that will fire sort of missiles that burn you for a long time. They sort of create these fields of fire, and the minions don't move out of it and just burn, and they are down. Again, you got some more ads coming. This time there's nothing behind us, fortunately, and this time we're able in a much better position. We're all very, very close, and we're able to stack up pretty close together to get and cleave down these mobs. So just a point, this is a pretty tricky part of this dungeon. It's taking quite a long time to get through this area, and I'm guessing this is one of the reasons why, and I think the earlier part with the 4 bosses, it's another reason why this dungeon isn't done as much or as quick, because it takes that bit longer. I mean, Sorrow's Embrace Path 1 I've done in 9 minutes. It's very, very quick, no real difficulty in that. But things like Citadel of Flame P3, Sorrow's Embrace Path 2, you get the really, like, they're very, very tricky to do. And, you know, there was times when no one would run Sorrow's Embrace at all, because even P1 and P3 were tricky, but now, you can see I was a bit unsure what was happening. Now, obviously, Sorrow's Embrace P1 is a staple of people's daily running. So you can see how slow this guy is actually walking, and he goes all the way, hammers the rock, comes all the way back, and puts the rock on the sort of machine, and we open the door. So rather than for you guys watch all of that, I'm going to cut it in so that you don't have to wait around for that long. So basically the door gets opened and we have some more elites. Again, we stack up, and this is obviously the main way to do it. You notice as well, I do have the sort of sigil of corruption, or superior sigil of corruption, that gives me more condition damage the more kills I get on my sort of axe. So I've got to make sure that when I'm in Death Shroud, I'm in also on my axe focus combination. That way I do get the sigil pop. Otherwise, if I'm on my staff, I don't have that, and I won't get the extra boost. So you can see here, I'm on my staff. For that kill, I didn't actually get any boost for my sigil of corruption. So that's just a small thing to consider. But I'm getting quite good damage, and later on I think I'll show you in the combat log, you can see how much damage I actually do. Obviously, you're not getting these massive numbers a lot of the time, but what you want to think about is that this is obviously I can never say this word, cumulative. Basically, they're all building up and up and up, and you get this sort of, over a few seconds, you may not do that like 3,000 crit as an elementalist or warrior would, but you'll build up 3,000 damage from your minions and your condition damage. So you can see here these roaming mobs, which is something we don't often see in Guild Wars 2, particularly in the dungeon area. Mobs that actually sort of roam around, and this was a key component of what made Guild Wars 1 such a good game, particularly in places like the end game areas, the Fissure of Woe and the Underworld. We had mobs like this, elite mobs, or big, heavy, extremely high level mobs in Guild Wars 2 that would roam around on a set pattern, and we very rarely see that in Guild Wars 2. Take Ore, for example. There are very few mobs that will roam around on a pattern. They just sort of stand there. They don't do anything. And you get a few mobs that will move around. I can think of a few events that it happens on, but generally as a base map, they don't roam around as much. And this is one of the things. I mean, in Guild Wars 1, the size of the area that mobs would roam, and anyone that would have done this sort of wiping out all the enemies in an instance would know this very well. Certain enemies would have extremely large range that they would the paths that they would take, and it would would be a real nightmare trying to find that last enemy that you had to kill. Particularly, I think in the Shiver Peaks, if anyone tried to find the last Minotaur to kill, then yeah, I had that issue as well. But back to this dungeon, I find it a refreshing change. I've said it's been a while since I've done this. Look, there are 2 enemy mobs of elites coming towards us, and for once we actually have to back off. We pull one of them over, and I think we actually accidentally pull the second mob over as well, and it is going to wipe us. But it's this sort of thing that the roaming mobs, this is what I don't think Guild Wars 2 has enough of. I think this is an issue that, again, if we look back to Guild Wars 1, even in Nightfall, when you go into the Realm of Torment, they had roaming mobs, and that was a very, very challenging area. You would actually have to, rather than kill, you would wait for a mob to pass, and then you would attack. You would move through. You wouldn't engage with a mob because it would take you a tough battle to get to kill all these mobs. And so you would wait for them to move out of range and then walk past. I think this should be implemented in Guild Wars 2. Again, this is the mob that we sort of we pull, and I think at some point somebody tried. I think one of the rangers pulled over the Taskmaster, and it all went to hell after that. This is a good place to stack. If you want to try and pull them over, you've got a big brick wall or a big brick. Well, I guess a brick wall. A very good place to stack, and obviously we've got the reflex coming in. You watch the bombers; they tend to be the heaviest, the most challenging sort of enemy from the Dredge. You can see I'm inflicting heavy condition damage, and unfortunately, the Taskmaster is getting very, very close. We do want to watch out, and we're taking out the elites, and suddenly, yes, the Taskmaster comes over, he puts up this invulnerability shield that you can't damage him with, and I was a bit unaware. I was like, we were looking at the map and we were like, run, try and fall back, and it doesn't go particularly well because we try and res somebody. And it just, there's a little bit of miscommunication. Nobody apart from me was typing, and it was a bit confusing. Like, one guy's downed, we try and rescue the ranger. I think we did actually yeah, so we managed to res him. I was just trying to keep the mobs off the guys resing, and then to try and get back out again, I was a bit stuck back here. You can notice all the AoEs. That's the biggest threat to minions, and my minions are pretty much all gone because of these AoE attacks by these bombers, and that is a real difficulty for my healing skill, because you can see there I can't heal unless my minion's alive. I get frozen, I get crippled, and I'm in trouble. I've got no healing, and I'm going to die. I can't use Death Shroud hasn't charged, and I'm, yeah, pretty much down. And everyone else, if you look on the mini-map, they're well out of range. Fantastic, I get left to die, and so I'll waypoint, and we'll retry this again without pulling those mobs over. We will just take out the Taskmaster. So, a little note about the Taskmaster. He's obviously shielded. The way you remove that shield is by getting these crushers. You have to pull him into the crusher, and it will destroy his shield. So what I'll do, we're having a look of view from up here, because I thought rather than me go down with my minions, I did actually think it was something to do with the glowing rock. What a mistake that was. That's actually for a later part of the dungeon. And I was like, well, okay, they asked for about the rocks. I was like, okay, no, that's not right. You have to wait for the crusher. Here we go. So he's in the crusher, and you'll notice now the crusher's come down and his shield's down. So now he's vulnerable to attack. He's very, very easy to cleave down, actually. I was assuming or expecting his shield to go straight back up, but no, it didn't go up again. We managed to, I don't know if it was an interrupt or, oh, it did go back up. There you go. It's back up, but I think the sort of hammer went down again, and yeah. So we managed to get him down, and nothing too serious in this dungeon. Remember, this is a 2-ranger, Mesmer, Guardian, and Necro dungeon comp. Not OP. It's not. We don't have significant DPS. We've got a fair amount of condition damage. But yeah, you can see the numbers that I'm popping here. They're okay, you know, they're fairly decent at this point. I think that's mainly because he's vulnerable. He's got a large stack of vulnerability on him. Again, that's crucial for if you know, for particularly like the rangers. If having vulnerability, that would be a very good sort of ideal way for them to cause a lot of damage. So we've defeated that boss. We move closer to the dungeon. This is where the glowing rocks will come into play. You actually have to deliver these glowing rocks to one of the NPCs, who will then charge up sort of the dredge vehicle that will smash through the door. I actually haven't bothered to show that. I cut that out pretty much because you don't really want to see me running around collecting rocks. They're all right there in front of you. So we deliver them to the rocks to the NPC. He charges this vehicle and smashes through this door. And we're progressing on to the next part. So we're all probably about 2/3 of the way through this dungeon. We're on to the final third now, and the NPC unfortunately was dead, so one of our party members went to get him, and so there we go. So we've given the rocks to him, we've gone through the door. You've got about 5 or 6 elites here. Again, it's a good place to stack just inside the door, so that they will all rush. They won't be attacking you as they come closer and closer. Then we can cleave them down and move on. We didn't manage to get all of them, I don't think. I think one of the guys, one of the enemies, Dredge, stayed outside. But yeah, pretty straightforward. This is us not really, again, we have no idea how this dungeon works. This was us going in blind. We're just doing the basics thing that we know from doing dungeons. But yeah. And we progress on. I think we've killed all of them. Again, look, if you look, I'm trying to get on my focus to try and get the sigil of corruption triggering. But we're coming into the final boss pit, and again, we were a little bit unsure of how this worked. There are you know, sort of these mortars that are dotted around this arena where the war minister is, they do give you significant damage, the fire damage that it gives you, and I would just be wary of that. I think I don't know what is the best amount or what is the easiest way to how many to take out, because what you'll notice, I think we take out 2 or 3 of the mortar turrets, but whether or not you need to take them all out or you can just jump off, that I think is up for other people. If you want to leave a comment, any suggestions, very appreciate them. Again, I went in blind. If you'd have any better suggestions, or you've experienced an easier way of doing a dungeon, this dungeon, it would be greatly appreciated. But you can see the damage that my minions are just getting absolutely destroyed by this fire damage. So these mortars are crucial to take out. Well, this one especially. Well, we did anyway. I don't know if you can go and interact with the War Minister a different way. You can see there we've destroyed the mortar and we're just getting rid of the elites. I think if these mobs weren't elites, if they were veterans, it would be an easier dungeon to do. I think you're probably half the length of time. Just because they're elites, it just takes that little bit longer to get through them, and they're that little bit tougher. Again, my party really didn't know what we were exactly doing, and you know, we had sort of mobs down there. I had a vague recollection that we had to take out sort of the mining suits at the bottom there, but I couldn't remember. I thought, you know, perhaps you might go around the left hand side and jump off so you miss all of these mortar attacks, but I was a little bit unsure. You know, this is what it's like. You know, I'm sure people when the expansion comes out, Heart of the Mists, sorry, Heart of Thorns, that when you go and do that expansion, there's going to be areas that nobody would have done before, and it will be a new experience for everyone. It's the same like Tequatl and the Jungle Worm. It took people a while to figure out how the mechanics worked, and you know, they were able to eventually. Tequatl is now relatively straightforward as long as it's organised. Tequatl was easily done. However, if you're not organised or you don't have the people, you will fail it. And I think, you know, this is what is still in Guild Wars 2. There are still places that don't tend to be done that much and do give that experience. Now you can see I don't believe that we should carry on attacking the mortars. My party members disagreed and they pushed on, and they were starting to attack, but you can see the fire damage she's taking. So I'm saying that we don't need to take them out. We're going to go sort of drop down, and but we'll just take these out for the, you know, it just be a little bit more safer anyway. I mean, that's the option you've got. You don't have to take them out, but it will make your battle at the bottom in the pit a little bit difficult. The more you take out, obviously, the easier it will be, but it's all about whether or not you want to keep doing this for a time basis. I think people running this will be more going for the Dungeoneer title rather than doing it for money. Okay, you get a gold from it, but the time, as I said, I mean, I've spent probably around 40 minutes in total doing this dungeon, and the only reason I'm doing this dungeon is to make a video guide for you guys out there, just to give you an idea of the failings that I actually had on this. So here we go. I'm, you know, getting my minions up, and we're going to come down into the pit. It is quite a good place to stay by this sort of area because it is a sort of cornered off. You can sort of dodge into the wall, and you're not going to get attacked from sort of. You've only got a couple of sides to get attacked from. So this is a good place to stay to get attacked. The enemies aren't too difficult actually, but what happens afterwards, you will see me make a little bit of an error, and because the boss, I didn't realise how it operated. One thing as well, because I'm actually on my Necromancer, I don't have as much bank storage as my Elementalist, and so I have to make sure to get rid of a few things. While I'm doing that, I didn't realise that they'd actually pulled the mob over as I tried to salvage a load of sort of blues and sort of, you know, common items. I'll use that sort of Dredge tonic. So here we go, the Dredge mining suits are over. They spawn adds and need to be taken out pretty quickly. As long as you're focusing in on the Dredge, that's all that needs to be concerned with. Particularly the Dredge mining suits. It is easy to start targeting the adds, which you shouldn't do because obviously they'll keep coming. you want to take out the mining suits as soon as you can. As we're trying to do here, you know, I'm targeting the specific one, so then I retarget with a different mining suit. And again, you know, we're in a nice little corner, there's nothing that's damaging, you know. Previously, if you get trapped in a corner, you'd be like in trouble. In Guild Wars 2, it's the prime location to stack and, you know, get that boons and sort of that protection. So you can see we're just finishing off the last mining suit, and that's him done. Now me, I had no idea what was coming next, and you'll see me because I target the actual War Minister, even though you don't actually attack him. What happens, you'll spawn 2 golems who you have to defeat. One gives this AoE sort of electric field damage, and another twirls around and gives you knockback. So you have a choice of which one to go for, and we were like, okay, let's take out one or the other. And it actually turns out that you need to take them both out at the same time. You have a little, you'll notice that what happened when we managed to knock or cleave down one of the golems, we actually we killed him, and the other one was around 25% health, and suddenly the golem sort of re-energized, and we were like, whoa, okay, we have to kill them both at the same time, and that's actually what destroys the kills the War Minister. You have to kill both within a set time period of killing one before it re-energizes, and yeah. And that's pretty much the dungeon done. There's nothing really much else to say. I'm hoping this guide would have been pretty useful for you, for those of you who've never done SCP-2. You'll see a lot of mistakes in this run. This isn't a perfect run. This is just for those of you who have never done it before. It's to give you guys an idea of what's up ahead, some of the mistakes I've made, and how you should do it instead of me. And I am hoping you found it useful. So thanks very much for watching. I'll let you enjoy the last 4 minutes in peace, and you'll see me mess up a little bit. So cheers for watching. See you on the next one.
Let's never go.